George Pickens after he led the team in receiving yards and touchdowns last season. However, Pickens was more looking for a long-term deal and more money. So will it backfire? Here's Brian Schottenheimer when asked if Pickens might miss off-season time with the team.
He's training with Dak. Hey, look, GP loves it here. We love GP. We have plans for GP to be here for a long time. So we'll let the business side of this thing play out and see where it goes.
Is it going to be the business side of it, or is it going to be the drama of it all? Ryan Clark is here with us. The offseason drama seems to follow the Cowboys, but is it good or bad for the Cowboys, Ryan Clark?
I was just before he speaks, I just wanted to say it just makes me emotional that my boys are coming in. It's not football season, and they coming in studio, to see their boy. This is a very, very touching thing because it ain't football season, but my man is here. What up, RC?
What up,
baby?
dog? What's happening, baby?
I'm good. Shay, you as Doggy would say, you may continue.
Thank you very much. So the question was, off-season drama, good or bad? Not new for the Cowboys, but is it good or bad?
Inevitable. It's like Thanos when we're talking about off-season drama with the Dallas Cowboys. And we knew that this was happening, right? The Cowboys are like the most one-step forward, two-step back team in all of football. And they've done some good things. You go get Christian Parker from the Philadelphia Eagles to be the defense coordinator. You acquire Rashawn Gary. The news says that you were trying to get Max Crosby as well. Javonte Williams is signed. You get the Kobe Durant at the corner position. But you knew this was going to happen with GP. You knew when you traded for him last year, this was going to happen. And guess what else you did, Dallas Cowboys? Guess what else you did, Jerry Jones? You said last year that the same agent that George Pickens has don't need to be talked to about Micah Parsons, even though now you got to talk to him about George Pickens. And George Pickens is not going to show up. George Pickens is not going to play. He's not going to practice until he gets the deal he has earned. And I repeat it over and over again. David Mulligetta, his agent, always says, I ain't taking $9 on 10, and most times I want 11.
Here's the thing that's interesting, and I'm glad RC brought it. I don't disagree with anything you said, RC, but here's the deal. First of all, just to remind people, you're talking about George Pickens. You're talking about a guy that led the Cowboys in targets, receptions, receiving yards, and touchdown catches. He's absolutely bald. And the $27.3 million tag that was placed on him so he doesn't go anywhere, we know he's worth more than that because he's proven that. So let's get that out the way right now. Where the conversation becomes very interesting, RC, however, is that the deal that he wants, the deal that he deserves. I'll lean on you for that in this regard. We just saw what Jigba got, what he got. We just saw that, right? That's over $40 million, bro. Now, we're not going to sit up here and say definitively that George Pickens deserves more than CeeDee Lamb, who's at 36, are we? We're not going to say that. Yes. Because, see, that's where it gets very, very interesting. Because if you the Dallas Cowboys, if they came to Pickens, first of all, he deserves a long-term deal. And secondly, you know what? I wouldn't go on the damn football field on a one-year deal when one play can end it. Hell with all of that. The guaranteed dollars that's out there for him, he's got to hold it. Absolutely. The question is, for how much? What are we talking?
Yeah, but the problem is, and I said Emeka Egbuka, apologist, another Ohio State wide receiver, but Jackson Smith and Jigba has shown you the way that the wide receiver market is increasing. Think about when we saw a deal for Justin Jefferson, and then CeeDee Lamb followed him, becoming the second highest paid wide receiver in all of football. The market has changed. You don't get to go negotiate if you're George Pickens and say, well, when CeeDee Lamb signed this deal 2 years ago, he's worth more than I'm worth. When I played more games, when I had more catches, when I had more yardage, when I proved last year that I can not only be a 1B receiver, but I can be an absolute number 1 receiver for the Dallas Cowboys, not another team. That's the way that George Pickens is going to negotiate. George Pickens is going to negotiate on $42 million a year that Jackson Smith and Jigba got. This isn't a conversation about who CeeDee Lamb is. This is a conversation about who George Pickens is right now as it stands in the wide receiver market, Stephen A.
Yeah, RC, but you leaving out an important twist in all of this. Like, CeeDee Lamb got his money from Dallas, right?
Yeah.
After Justin Jefferson got his money, but Justin Jefferson's on the Vikings. CeeDee Lamb on the Cowboys. The problem with this one is you talk about two teammates. You're talking about 2 Cowboys. And so I'm wondering, I'm just saying, I'm wondering what kind of role that's going to play. Again, at the 27, no. But when you start getting up to the 34, 35, 36, in the range that CeeDee Lamb, that's where it gets a bit more interesting to find out. What is George Pickens going to be willing to accept? What is Mulugeta going to be willing to accept, et cetera? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but you also got to think, he's not going to look for a deal that's around where we've seen guys like A.J. Brown, where we've seen guys like Garrett Wilson. He's not going to take that deal that puts him on really what would be the 3rd tier of wide receiver per year averages. George Pickens is going to want to be one of the highest paid wide receivers in the league. And he's going to feel that his production with the Dallas Cowboys last year with Dak Prescott gives him that opportunity, gives him that right, that he deserves what he's earned. And so I don't believe that what CeeDee Lamb has is going to affect what George Pickens asked for. And it's like we always say, what he eat don't make me poop. How big his house is ain't got nothing to do with how big my house can be. This is going to be negotiated on George Pickens' terms, and that's why I think this could be a difficult negotiation for Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, hold on. Who even knows if they're going to negotiate? Like, what if George Pickens?
Well, they're going to negotiate.
What if George Pickens actually shows up to off-season workouts, and then this is a non-factor?
No. Let me tell you something right now. You don't want to be Shay. I mean, this is the business side right here. You know, when it's guaranteed dollars out there in 9 figures, but they talking to you about 8 figures, you ain't showing. You want to make sure that you, and we brought up the dollars. We didn't even bring up the years, okay? Because you want to make sure you got a certain number of dollars guaranteed to you for years to come. George Pickens is not jeopardizing that, and that's the position that the Cowboys have put themselves in. So once again, with all of these moves that they've made to improve their squad, they also messed up because of this situation right here, because you're fomenting dissension and acrimony, not amongst the players themselves. I'm just talking about, once again, a negotiation issue with one of the players. And this is in the aftermath of quarterback Dak Prescott speaking up for a change when he spoke up months ago about how he wants George Pickens back. You know, we need to get that done.
And also, too,
this is what it is. Dallas getting in their own way.
If you've been pay attention to social media, CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens are extremely close. They're tight. Dak Prescott and George Pickens have a great relationship. And so from the locker room standpoint, there are going to be many people voicing their opinion that George Pickens does belong on this team, that George Pickens is wanted on this team. And you can't have the same situation if you're the Dallas Cowboys ownership that you had last year with Michael Parsons.
Yeah.
You can't have that sort of dissension. You can't have that sort of tension. And you're dealing with the exact same people.
Yeah.
And many people saw felt that negotiation wasn't handled professionally by the Dallas Cowboys and the Jones family.
Well,
you can't go back down that road.
It definitely wasn't handled professionally, not at all. Jerry Jones refusing to talk to Mulugeta was inexcusable. I told him that to his face. He knows that. But here's the thing, RC. In a roundabout way, you're sounding like you're saying what I think is the case. And this is throwing no shade at Micah Parsons whatsoever. But you actually feel, it almost feels like there's more people, Shay and RC, in the Dallas Cowboys locker room clamoring for George Pickens to remain a Cowboy, more so than they were even clamoring for Micah Parsons to remain a Dallas Cowboy.
But they're on different
It almost
sides of the
feels
ball.
like that.
It's not like
definitely-
Micah can train with Dak. I mean,
Yeah, but it's definitely been a different feeling about George Pickens, which I believe George Pickens needed with some of the narrative that he had upon leaving
coming from Pittsburgh.
Right, that was important. But the other piece of it is this too. Remember Michael Parsons' willingness to work with the team. Michael Parsons would show up. Even if he wouldn't practice, Michael Parsons was at the building. Michael Parsons was in training camp. It felt like Michael Parsons was doing everything on his side to remain the Dallas Cowboys for the foreseeable future. If you're George Pickens, you were there for that. Right? So you're going to know that behavior doesn't necessarily guarantee me that I'll be negotiated with fairly. And so it will be interesting to see how they handle things going forward based on past history.
This drama is just beginning. So we took an over-under on how many times we're going to talk about this George Pickens
250.
drama. About 250 in the coming months. Let's get to a quick take now. League meetings in the NFL are happening right now in Arizona, and Cleveland Browns owner Jimmy Haslam told reporters yesterday that Deshaun Watson has, quote, a great chance to be the franchise's starter, considering there's a fresh start under first-year head coach Todd Monken. Okay, so Shedeur Sanders, we've got now Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel is still on the roster. They have first-round draft picks coming up. Who should be Cleveland's starter, Stephen A.?
Wow, listen, I'm inclined to say Shedeur Sanders because he finished the season, and Deshaun Watson has been so bad in the Cleveland Browns uniform. But because of the money, RC, Shay, I'm inclined to try to at least give the man one more chance. I'm not telling you to start him without him showing what he could do in training camp and preseason. But my eyes are like, I'm praying and hoping that he lives up to his billing to some degree. I can't believe what a precipitous drop-off we've witnessed when it comes to Deshaun Watson in the Cleveland Browns uniform. When he was in Houston, it got to a point where it was like Patrick Mahomes, and then Deshaun Watson was right there with everybody else. And yet, that's not what we've seen happen since he's been in the Cleveland Browns uniform. And I'm just praying there could be some return to that Deshaun Watson. You got to give him a chance with the money you owe him, the money you paying him, because you can't give him away, to be honest with you. That's the only reason I'm saying that. But Shedeur Sanders did end the season. But my answer to this question would be Deshaun Watson.
Headed into the season, Shedeur Sanders should be the #1 player at the quarterback position on the depth chart for the Cleveland Browns. Now, does Deshaun Watson get an opportunity to compete? Absolutely. What you can't do if you're Jimmy Haslam, what you can't do if you're Todd Monken is chase the contract. You can't chase the money. You have to look at the film and say, this is who Deshaun Watson has been in a Cleveland Browns uniform. I agree with you, Stephen A. Who he was in Houston, the guy that they paid for, the person they took a flyer on despite some of the offseason stuff, that dude was worth it. The dude we see playing now or playing recently has not been. And some of the highlights we saw from Shedeur Sanders, the ability to lead this team, the ability to stay tough and fight and get through the adversity, to me, allows him an opportunity to lead the clubhouse at the quarterback position. And it does seem that Todd Monken has some sort of kinship relationship with Shedeur Sanders, and I believe that should be explored before going back to Deshaun Watson in some way trying to justify the money that we guaranteed him when acquiring him from Houston.
It's two things. I get where you're coming from, RC. Can't argue with that. It's two things, though, that I think works in Deshaun Watson's favor. It's a miracle that you got to dig deep to find it, but it's two things. Number one, the skill set that he once displayed was on an elite level.
Yes.
What he once did, we've never seen Shedeur Sanders do. That's number one. And number two, as bad as Deshaun Watson has been, he only played in 19 games out of 68 for the 4 years he was in Cleveland. In the 4 years he's been there. He's only played in like 19 games. And so because of that plethora of injuries, the inactivity, there's still this ray of hope that somehow, some way, we'll see something that reminds us of what he used to be. That, as opposed to seeing him and he hasn't missed any games and he's just out there stinking up the joint. It's a little bit different. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah, but honestly, though, too, I know we got to go, but we aren't saying those same things about guys like Kirk Cousins, about guys like Russell Wilson, because what they used to be. We're talking about what they are now and what they've shown us recently, and Deshaun Watson has not displayed good play.
So using my female investigation skills, I do know that Todd Monken says that they could perhaps go younger at the quarterback position. I forget if he said it at the Combine or at the league meetings, which would lead me to believe that Deshaun Watson maybe will not be the starter this upcoming season, but this is something obviously we'll have to pay close attention to as the offseason progresses.